And so today we're going to be sharing with you a roadmap of what you should be doing with your personal finances, or what we should be doing with our personal finances. We hear from people every day that personal finances really covers a lot, and it can be somewhat overwhelming. People want to know where they should start, or what should be their first, or what their next step should be as they work through their personal finances. Now, you may find yourself in different places in each of the 8 steps that we're going to cover today, and if so, that's okay. But understanding how they work together will help you make better decisions. But before we start, let's do a quick introduction.
Well, thank you for attending the webinar today. Again, Money Moves, 8 Steps to a Brighter Financial Future. My name is Dawn Watson, and I am a Partner Experience Manager with Greenpath Financial Wellness. I've been with Greenpath for 30 years. Initially, I spent 27 years counseling, which allowed me to work with people all over the country to help them figure out how to navigate financial hardships. I then transitioned to the Partner Experience team to work with our partners like Genisys to share our mission with their members like you. I am also joined again by Bill and Peggy Dombrowski from Genisys. Bill, do you want to make a quick introduction for yourself?
Yep. Hello, everyone. Once again, my name is Bill Folks. I have been with Greenpath 13 years as of yesterday. Yesterday was my Greenpath anniversary. I started in November 2008 as a counselor, and I did that until summer 2015. That's when I joined the Partner Experience team. And ever since then, I've been working directly with our credit union partners to help make sure that everyone has a chance to pursue their financial dreams and pursue financial wellness. Peggy?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Peggy Dombrowski, the Loss Mitigation Manager here at Genisys Credit Union. I'm actually in my 33rd year here at Genisys. In my early years, I held a few different positions with the credit union, but really there's none that I enjoy more than the one I have right now. It's very rewarding to me, and I love to work with our members and get them through some financial hardships. Many of the members that I work with are in need of help with their finances, and I work with them many times in tandem with Greenpath, our partner, and we review their financial condition, put them in a working plan, and our goal is to get them financial wellness. Sometimes these plans might take 60 days, sometimes they might take 90 days. Others we can put out to 5 years, but it's a commitment that I make to our members, and I know our partners at Greenpath do the same. So I'm excited today for all the information that we're going to put out there for you, and thank you for attending. And with that, I'm going to put it back to Dawn and Bill.
Thanks, Peggy. So we want to start out today's discussion with a question. So please share your response in chat. What percentage of Americans maintain a budget? So what do you guys think? You want to chat that in? Okay, looks like we have a few different responses coming in. We have some 20s, some 50%. Okay, well, let's, it looks like if you had provided some responses and you had guessed 32%, you would be correct. This can vary a little bit depending on the source. The most important takeaway is that the majority of people really don't maintain a budget. So if you're struggling with a budget, you aren't alone. It is hard for all of us. It's a really hard thing to do.
Okay, so let's take a look at our objectives today. We just have 4 quick objectives for you. Number 1, we want you to show up and learn and be excited about learning these moves, and look at how they might fit into your life. Next, we're going to review the 8 moves, and as we review the moves, we'll give you steps on how to implement them. And then after that, finally, we're going to have some time for Q&A to answer your questions and clear up anything that maybe was unclear for you. But let's start with money move number 1, and that is going to be define your vision and motivation. We're starting here because many of us have different reasons for wanting to be financially well. It may be easier, and it's going to be easier to stick with if you know why financial wellness is important to you. Now, some of you may have had a defining moment that motivated you to change. For some, that might be the time you overdrafted your account. For others, it may be getting ready for that big purchase like a house, and we want to be able to envision ourselves living there. Sometimes we take steps out of desperation. because it's a terrible feeling to be broke all the time. Knowing what your motivation is might seem like a big task or an ongoing task, but you need to ask yourself, how can I figure out my motivation? One way to do that is to make a list of maybe 8 to 10 things that makes you happy. If you're happy, if you're married and you have a significant other, ask them to do this as well. And once you are both done, come together and talk about how those things really relate to money and how your money can affect those things. And this can be your motivation. If that's overwhelming, or if you're having trouble wrapping your mind around that, maybe instead, flipping that on the other end and write 8 things you don't ever want to do when it comes to money, and that can be your motivation. And now that you've got your motivation, what comes next? It's really important to make sure that you put that motivation in front of you in a place that where it can get your attention. Maybe print out a picture of your motivation and tape it to your debit card, or keep it in front of your computer, or maybe even change the wallpaper on your phone. Do something to get that motivation in front of you and keep it there. This will help you make choices that really work toward those goals. And when we get to money move number 5, we're going to talk about ways to apply this.
All right, thanks, Bill. So imagine if something were to happen to you today, would someone be able to find your financial information and know what's going on to take steps to handle it? So let's get organized. So if it's going to be difficult for you to get organized, think how difficult it's going to be for somebody else to actually come in and do that. So how do you organize your financial documents? Is it someplace that you can get to easily? Maybe you're using a filing cabinet, or do you have your information go to a dedicated folder in your inbox? If you don't already have a process, start thinking about what might work for you. Consider blocking out time on your calendar to work on it. Be intentional about making sure you invest in yourself. Be proactive so you aren't scrambling to get the information when you need it. I know in our house, I handle many of the financial transactions. My husband occasionally asks me, where do we stand? Are we on track for our goals? Since I know he would never use technology, I have a notebook that has all of our account information in it and a filing cabinet with the most up-to-date statements for like our insurance policies, retirement accounts, bank information. So this keeps us organized and gives him the ability to go and look and find everything if and when he needs it. And I tell you, this was so important. This process came in handy for our family early in our marriage. I had actually broken both arms at the same time and was virtually incapable of doing anything for a few weeks. What was already a stressful time in our lives could have become even worse if our finances hadn't been organized. So how about you, Bill? How do you guys stay organized in your family?
Well, my wife actually, kind of like you and your marriage, my wife actually keeps a spreadsheet with all of our bills and all of our income, and she tracks that and updates it regularly. At the very least, she's looking at it at each payday, but we also, whenever we have a bill that's due that needs to be paid, she's going to take a look at it. And we also talk about what's going on in there and when the next bill is due and what we're going to do with any money that's left over. That's so important that you do know what you're going to do with any surplus that you have, and that you're on the same page with that, whether that's working toward a savings goal or some other goal. But it's really important that you do that. And we're going to send out some tools at the end of the webinar to help you start getting organized as well.
Yeah, and if you're having trouble with Money Move 1, this step can hopefully provide you some clarity to help you figure out what that motivation is.
So now that you have all that information organized, you're going to need to review it. Questions like what are the balances, what are your interest rates, what are your expenses, income, et cetera, are things that you're going to need to have answers to. Spend some time reviewing where you're starting at. If you don't spend some time reviewing where your money is or where you're at right now, it's going to be near to work towards your goals. So if you haven't done it, create a budget and make sure that you review it. Do you have a surplus? Or you run a short each month? Are you able to put money aside for your goals? We actually have a budget template that we're going to send you at the end of this webinar, but you can also use online banking information and even use the budgeting calculator Genisys has on their website, which we're going to put in the chat for you. And while we're doing that, Peggy, do you want to share more about the tools Genisys has and how they will simplify things for everyone?
I do. Thanks, Bill. So again, as Bill said, we're reviewing our money. And so literally, how do we keep an eye on our money? How do we know what's happening? How can we look quickly and find out what's going on in real time? I know I can attest to the fact that my budget's gone awry when I've been negligent and not tracking my everyday spending. So on the slide, you'll see a gentleman with his cell phone who just happens to have our mobile app loaded onto it. So our mobile application is one that we really take a lot of pride in here at Genisys. We want to make sure that our members get the optimum experience from using it. And one of the many things that I like about it is when you actually log in, you're on that page that they're showing right now. When you're actually logged in with your username, there's an area on that screen that's called Quick Balance. And what happens is when you initially sign up in the application, you can pick what account you'd like to get a quick balance on. So for example, my most active account that I use is my Genisys Genius Checking. It's both mine and my husband's primary accounts. Our debit cards are attached to it. Our direct deposits go in there. So we like to get quick balances, sometimes daily, sometimes every other day. So that's the account that we've chosen to use as our quick balance account because it's our most active account, the one that our bills get paid out of. So between he and I, we're always looking to make sure that we're both on the same path with our funds and what we're doing day to day if we're using our debit cards. So it's a great tool for me. Also, I like to do a quick balance on my checking account before I make an ATM withdrawal. It's better for me to use this tool instead of sitting at the ATM machine and trying to get a balance inquiry. So then, of course, with this application, you can dig a little bit deeper, actually log in to this application. And when you get there, the first thing you'll see is a complete listing of all of your accounts that you have and the balances for each one of those accounts. You can also make transfers between accounts. Say you look at your quick balance on your checking account and see that you're running a little bit short. Go into the application and you can transfer money between savings and checking. You can make loan payments, and we also have a mobile deposit feature that's outstanding. And I just want to make mention that anything that you can do on our mobile app, you can also do on our online application on our website. So a lot of tools out there to help you manage your money, move money around, and keep you on track with your budget.
Thank you, Peggy.
You're welcome.
That's some really great information. Now, keep in mind your budget was going to be a tool that you're going to come back to often. It's not a set it and forget it process, which means that it shouldn't be written in stone. Our lives, including our finances, are changing regularly, so we need to continue to go back and make adjustments. Maybe your goals or your motivation has changed. And if that happens, that's okay. But reviewing and adjusting your budget is a necessary step toward achieving your goals. And if you're having trouble finding your motivation, doing a review of your money might help you identify them. And as you're reviewing the information, you might see some trends, which takes us to money move number 4.
Thanks, Bill. So money move 4, understanding your money habits. So we all have influences in our lives that impact how we learn and interact with money. Maybe this includes your family, friends, or even social media. These influences probably have an impact on our money habits. There are rhythms in our lives that involve how we spend money. For example, I go to the grocery store once a week, run some errands, and on my way home, I stop and pick up food. It seems crazy to do that after I just spent a small fortune at the grocery store, but I'm usually tired, and the last thing I want to do is go home and cook. I think this habit was really created when my children were younger, and I needed to keep them busy when I was unloading and putting things away from the purchases. So these are money habits that might work for you, and then some that might work against you, like mine that I just shared. Maybe you already are scheduling time to review your finances each week when you get paid. That's what I do. Thursday night before payday, I sit down, review the bills being paid, what is going into savings, and where we stand. For me, that's a great habit. So my daughter, she started pulling out of her checking account cash on the day she gets paid, and she puts them into individual envelopes. So that helps her save for those specific things she has identified as her motivation. And that's a great habit for her. If your habit is to stop at Starbucks every morning, you might identify that as a habit you want to break. I know when I was counseling, many people would stop and pick up breakfast or buy coffee on their way to work. So once they actually calculated out the amount they spent, they realized it really wasn't a habit they wanted to continue. It may seem small on a daily basis, but once you add it all up, it can become rather substantial. I mean, for instance, if you're spending $5 for breakfast or lunch 5 days a week, over a year, you've spent $1,300. I mean, that could be a nice little mini vacation. So, hey, Bill, do you have any money habits that you want to share on how you changed it?
Yep, and actually it goes back to spending that $5 for lunch every day. Before I came to work at Greenpath, I worked for the city of Dearborn, and I was there for about 16 years. And while I was there, I used to go to lunch every single day with two coworkers, a woman named Ronnie and a gentleman whose name also just happened to be Bill. And me, Ronnie, and Bill, we would go to lunch, if not every day, just about every day. Well, in 1998, 1999, something like that, Bill retired. And Ronnie and I, although we're still friends to this day, Bill was obviously the reason we were going to lunch every day. It's because he was a little bit older. He had more money than we did, and he had more disposable income. So he liked to go to lunch, and we liked Bill, so we went to lunch with him every day. We stopped, and Ronnie and I both realized we had all this money left over. I wasn't even looking for it, but I realized I had all this money left over, and it's because we weren't going to lunch every day. And so that really helped me realize how, those habits of, just spending a few bucks here and there, it may not seem like a lot when you're spending it, that dollar or two in the vending machine a couple of times a day. It may not seem like a lot when you're doing it, but over time it adds up, and that really helped me see how much that added up.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So yeah, I mean, think about those influences and what is actually impacting how you choose to spend your money. So maybe think about using cash instead of your debit card to have a more immediate realization of what is being spent. Set a specific spending limit for some of your routines. So, okay, you're going to go out to lunch. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with going out to lunch, but say I'm only going to do it twice a week and no more than $5. If you're always passing by your favorite coffee place on your way to work and you just don't stop, you just can't stop going there, you maybe consider a different route so that you can avoid it altogether. So knowing your habits is definitely going to create some great foundation for money moves number 5.
And money moves number 5 is setting goals. So let's talk about setting goals and a way to make those easier. And you want to turn your goals into a SMART goal. And SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. This will allow you to add direction to your motivation, and that helps turn a vague motivation into a goal, which is something you can track and monitor. So for instance, you might decide you want to pay off a credit card within 36 months. And in order to do that, you might decide you need to spend $150 toward each month. To make it easier, you might decide to set up automatic payments and check the balance each month. But that's a SMART goal. It's specific. You know how much you need to spend. It's measurable because you can keep track of it. It's attainable and it's realistic because you've looked at it and you know you can afford that $150 a month. To feel in control of finances, save your receipts and set a time each week to review that spending. Now, setting goals will increase motivation and provide us some safeguards. And if you're going to make a purchase, you need to ask yourself a question: is this purchase going to help me toward one of my goals? If it's not going to help you toward one of your goals, then you need to be asking yourself, is this something you really need? And sometimes the answer might be yes. You might, even though it's not working toward a goal, it might be something you need to have in your life at that moment, whether it's a new coat because your old winter coat is getting old and worn out, or what. But you just need to make sure that if it is a purchase, if it's not working toward one of your goals, it is a necessity. And working toward those goals, it might help to start with a small goal, and so you can have a small win. We call them those small psychological victories. So instead of saying I want to have $1,000 in savings, which for some people that might seem a little daunting, you might start out with, okay, I'm going to save $10 a week for a month. And then after you get at the end of that month, you might reevaluate to see how much, if you can continue doing that or if you just change that goal. If one of your goals is to save money, speak to Genisys about which saving account might be best for you. Well, we can also see your worksheet to help you track your saving goals and progress. But Peggy is going to actually share with us more information about how Genisys can assist.
Thanks, Bill. So I wanted to just review with the group some of the tools that we have available to you, and these are tools that I personally use. I found it interesting that Dawn had said that her daughter uses the envelope method to take X number of dollars out of her pay and put it in an envelope every week for some of the expenses that she has. And that was something that I used to do several years ago also. But I've found we here at Genisys have some really great tools that help us set our goals and budget, and I take advantage of them. And one of them is, again, within our online banking or our mobile banking app, you'll find a tool that's called Transfer Money. And that's where it'll actually let you schedule transfers to take place out of your account at any point in time. So let me give you an example. Today happens to be a Genisys payday. So every other week we get paid, and what I've done is set up scheduled transfers to take place every payday out of my direct deposit. And what I've done is I have a specific amount that I put into our savings, and our savings is what we use here in our home for, of course, future savings and maybe unexpected emergencies. And then I have money that's transferred to sub accounts. And so what are these sub accounts that I'm talking about? They're actually accounts that are outside of your normal regular savings or checking account that you can actually open on your own. You can open them again through online or on our website. And it's called a You Name It Savings. And You Name It Savings is because you're in control. You're opening the account. You can name that sub account anything that you would like. So for example, I have several of them set up, and one I have named Christmas. And this is a goal that I have every year, is to make sure that come November, I have enough money in this Christmas account so that when it comes time to start buying gifts, I'm not using my credit card. I've got this Christmas account funded. So another one that I have it's called Maggie. And why is it called Maggie? Well, it's the account I use to put money in. I have a dog that needs a lot of medication. So it's an account that I put money in, transferred every day, or I'm sorry, every other week from my direct deposit, my pay, into Maggie's account, so that when it's time to get her medication, there it is, there's the money, and Chewy can come in and take it right away and send me her medication. Another one that I have is the dreaded car insurance. I know how I dread the car insurance every year. So I transfer money into that account for the car insurance. And then I have another one, kind of a selfish one. It's labeled as fun stuff. And that one's for me. And I use it when I feel like I want to splurge on something for myself. So again, the money transfer and the sub accounts, I think, are great tools. I use them. I've set many a member up with them when working on their financial plan. You can set up as many as you like, no limit. And I mean, I'm aware of some of our members that have 10 and 12 of these sub accounts attached to their primary membership here at Genisys. So again, I think they're great tools. They help you budget. In my case, say my direct deposit was $1,000. As soon as that money goes in there, I'm transferring $200 out automatically. The system's doing it, and it's moving it to all the sub accounts, and I'm left with $800. I know that that's that $800 that I have. That's what I'm using to set my budget with every 2 weeks. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Bill and Dawn.
Thank you, Peggy. And one last thing I want to add is, whatever your goal is, you have an accountability partner can help as well. And I realize that's not always going to be possible, but ideally this can be your spouse or your partner or friend works just as well. If you don't have anyone who you feel comfortable sharing with, that's okay. Just hold yourself accountable. But we're more likely to achieve our goals if we share this with someone else.
All right. Now this takes us into money move number 6, plan your money. So to hit those goals, you need to have a plan. And this is important, as this is where we are putting everything into action. So consider having a plan for every dollar in your budget. So just like Peggy said, create those sub-accounts and then direct that money as the budget dictates. Give every dollar a job. You're going to take control and plan out your paycheck. Now, as you're doing this, keep in mind a budget spending plan, whatever you want to call it, is not a static document, and it needs to be used. It should be living, breathing, and helps us month to month to achieve those goals. Also, our income and expenses are not consistent every month. Just like Peggy said, holidays are coming up, birthdays, anniversaries. All of these things vary for each of us, but they all are going to have an important part of our plan. We need to plan for each month and the variances that come with it to be successful. That lack of a plan is what really leads to stress and uncertainty. Bill, do you want to share a story about when you didn't have a plan and how it turned out?
Yep, and I'll make this quick. Back when I was 21 years old, I was once again working for the city of Dearborn, and I was part-time at that time. And I bought a brand new car, and I really didn't plan. Now I knew I could afford the car payment because I knew what the car payment was going to be, but it never occurred to me my auto insurance could be as much as the car payment was. Well, growing up in Detroit, I think most of you are probably in the Detroit area. We have some of the highest insurance in the country. My auto insurance is more than the car payment. And, if I had planned this a little better, if I had thought about the auto insurance, I would not have bought a brand new car when I was 21 and working part-time. So that was a valuable lesson for me. It was another 20 years after that before I bought another brand new car. I would use for a long time after that.
All right, thanks for sharing, Bill. So basically, create your plan to know what to expect and let it provide guidance on the future steps that you're going to take. Also, communication about your finances is good, whether it's you reinforcing that information for yourself or with others. Make sure you and your financial partner are working together, and make sure those influences in your life aren't going to derail your plan. Planning does also promote that communication for future success. So after we have created a plan for your money, we're then freed up to optimize our situation with money move number 7.
And that is spend less, make more. So money moves number 1 through 3 are 4 through 6 are operationalized, and 7 and 8 are optimized. And as you're working through the money moves, you may find that you're willing to make some changes spending. You may decide to spend less in one category, say your streaming accounts, and then put that money toward one of your other goals. Dawn, did you have something to share about this?
Yeah, I actually did that not too long ago. So I tracked everything from magazine subscriptions, I know we still get them in our house, to all of the streaming services. And trust me, I think with my kids, we have all of them, gym memberships. It was, our Costco and Sam's Club, and it was overwhelming. And I couldn't believe how much money was going out. So I went through and we started making a lot of changes and cuts and downsizing different packages, and it was incredible how much money we were able to save. So I encourage you, if you haven't done that, do that.
Great. And it's important to keep in mind that this does not have to be a permanent sacrifice. Once you reach your goal, you may decide that you want to pick Netflix up again because you really miss Stranger Things. Or you may decide that you didn't miss it at all and you can keep that sacrifice. Having worked through the steps may motivate you to permanently decrease your expenses to get to your goals faster. Or you may decide that you need to pick up more money, and maybe you want to get a second job, or maybe start doing something to bring in a little bit more income, if that's possible. And if that's the case, that it is possible, you'll have a better idea of the dollar amount per month that you'll need to help meet those expenses and goals.
All right, so this takes us to our last money move. Number 8 is repeat. Now, this is the hard part of the money moves, and for many things in life, we need to be active, consistent, and we need to do it over time. Unfortunately, we can't take the emotion or people out of money, but these money moves gives us the steps and process to keep us motivated and aware of those influences. So as a recap, find that motivation, and remember, it's okay if it changes. Get and keep organized. If the first system you choose doesn't work, find a different method. Continually review your money, add and remove items from your plan as things change. Be aware of your money habits and influences. Set your goals, and as you reach them, create new ones. Keep track of your plan and your progress, and continue to look for ways to make more money and spend less, and finally continue to review and repeat. So Peggy, I know you had some additional resources that we know that members can benefit from. Do you want to provide them the additional information now?
I do. Thanks, Dawn. So we've been talking about a lot about resources and tools and our financial future today and financial wellness. So with that, I just want to invite everybody to go out to our Genisys website, and on our homepage, about a quarter of a way down on the right-hand side is our Financial Wellness Center. And in the Financial Wellness Center, it's actually broken down into 6 different sections. And there's information out there about managing your debt, tips on money saving, and my favorite, building and improving your credit score. So there's 6 sections out there that I know that will help us with what we were talking about, or will help you with what we've been talking about today. So go out there and take a look. There's a lot of valuable information in the Wellness Center. Again, it can also be found in our mobile application. So I wanted to thank everybody today for joining us, and I truly hope that you did find our information to be valuable and informational.
Great. Thanks, Peggy. So again, Bill and I both want to thank you for attending as well. We're going to send out everyone those 3 worksheets that we discussed, the Get Organized sheet, the budget, and the savings tracker, as well as a recording of the workshop. Now, if you would like to talk to one of Greenpath's financial wellness experts to help you on your financial journey, you can contact Greenpath for a free confidential one-on-one session. And you can reach us at 877-274-7580 or look at us online at greenpath.com/Genisys. And we are going to stay on the line. So if there are questions that anybody has, we would be happy to answer those questions. And we hope that you were able to take something away from today and get that motivation started.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Feel free to chat the questions in to all panelists so that we can see those. It looks like we have one that came in asking about the importance of maintaining a good credit score. Bill, do you want to go with that?
Yeah, so the reason why it's so important to maintain a good credit score is because anytime you anytime you need to use credit, anytime you need to take out a loan or open up a new type of credit, line of credit, your credit score is one of the main things that your creditor, Genisys in this case, is going to be looking at as they're making that decision. Yes, they want to look at your budget, make sure that you can afford it, but they also want to see what is the likelihood that you're going to repay that bill. Are you going to pay the bills on time? And they do that by looking at your history, and your credit report and your credit score is a great indication of that. Now, of course, there are no promises. There's no guarantees ever in life. But, generally speaking, the higher your credit score, the lower your risk is that the creditor considers you. So the higher your credit score, the more likely it is they're going to loan you money at a good rate. Also, the higher your credit score, the better that rate is going to be.
And it looks like we have a follow-up about that. How is the credit score determined? And that one, there's no exact science to that question, but there's really a few things that go into making up our credit score. The most important factor, of course, is maintaining your bills on time every single month. Once you hit 30 days and something gets reported to the credit bureau, you're going to see, unfortunately, that credit score drop. So, paying them on time and having that plan. So again, knowing the plan, knowing your budget, making every dollar have a purpose. Also, how much of your credit you're utilizing at every given time. And this is important, because if they think you're overextended, that's going to impact your score. So even if you pay off your entire balance every month, if you're still utilizing it, it's still going to report to the bureau as maxed out, and that's still going to be somewhat of a hurdle. So trying to keep it at that 30% usage is kind of the ideal mark to have for keeping that credit score where you want it to be. Also, having that history, the long-term history is going to play a role. Having some variety in your credit is going to have a role. So they do like to see that you're managing both your installment type obligations, revolving obligations, and then those inquiries. How often are you applying for credit, and what is what is going to play somewhat of a role. And again, if you want to review your credit report with one of Greenpath's financial wellness experts, we are happy to do that and kind of walk through specifically what may be impacting your report and opportunities to work towards increasing the score. So do you see any other questions?
Yes, I saw another question that says, how can I stay motivated to maintain my budget? And that is a really great question. You know, when I was a counselor, when I was a financial wellness expert, we always told people to track your spending and look at your budget every day. Realistically, we know most people aren't going to do that. Some people do, but most people aren't going to be able to, they aren't going to just have the interest to look at it every day. So one thing I encourage people to do, if that is you, is to, maybe instead of reviewing it constantly, maybe review it every day for a week or even every day for a month and see where you stand at the end of that. And then maybe come back a few months later to review it again. That way you still have a pretty good idea of where your budget is, where your money is, but you're not feeling overwhelmed by having to look at it every single day.
Great, thank you. I think that looks like the rest of the questions. Again, if you have something, please feel free to chat it in or reach out to Genisys or again, reach out to Greenpath and we can assist you in any way that we can.